सलावत अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद। माँ कहती थी जलते हुए झूले से लिपट कर, हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। माँ कहती थी जलते हुए झूले से लिपट कर, हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। जालिम ने तुझे कब्र से इस तरह निकाला, सीने पे लगा जिस घड़ी बेटा तेरे नेज़ा, लाशे को तेरे देख के बोला सरे अकबर, हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। अब तक मेरी आँखों से वो मंजर नहीं जाता, गर्दन से तेरी खून टपकता रहा बेटा, रुमाल भी बांधा ना गया है तेरे गले पर, हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। तुम मर गए ये बात वो अब तक नहीं मानी, जिद करती है भाई को पिलाऊंगी मैं पानी, कूज़े लिए मकतल में खड़ी है ये तेरी ख्वाहर, हाय हाय अली हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। मारा है सितमगर ने सकीना को तमाचा, गाजी की तरह तुमसे भी देखा नहीं जाता, बंद आँखें किए रोते हो तुम नो के सेना पर, हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। जिस तीर से नाके को गिराते हैं जमीन पर, वो तीर लगा नन्हे से हलकूम पे आकर, अरे तुम खून गलते रहे बाबा से लिपट कर, हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। मजबूर थी घर में मेरे पानी नहीं आया, मजबूर थी घर में मेरे, पानी ही नहीं था, वरना तो धुला देती मैं ये खून भरा चेहरा। दादी से शिकायत मेरी नहीं करना मेरी जाकर, हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। तुम मर गए ये बात वो अब तक नहीं मानी, जिद करती है भाई को पिलाऊंगी मैं पानी, कूज़े लिए मकतल में खड़ी है ये तेरी ख्वाहर, हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। माँ कहती थी जलते हुए झूले से लिपट कर, हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। सलावत।
सलवात। सलवात। कर रहा है मेरा दिल बयां करबला, मुझसे आशूर की शब का मंजर कहा, सीने शाह पर बिन्ते शाहे खुदा और शबीर कहते थे ये बारहा, हमको जाना है कल करने वादा वफा, तुम पा जाएगा सब्र का मरहला, बात सारी सकीना ने शह की सुनी और जवाबन बस इतना ही कहती रही, अच्छा बाबा सुलाने तो आओगे ना, रोज चेहरा दिखाने तो आओगे ना, बोले शब्बीर ऐ मेरी नूरे नजर, तुमको करना है अब शाम तक का सफर, तुमको कैदी बनाएंगे अब अहले शर, बोली शहजादी मुझको नहीं कोई डर, तुम कहो तुम सुलाने तो आओगे ना, रोज चेहरा दिखाने तो आओगे ना, शाह कहने लगे ऐ मेरी लाडली, तुम पर आ जाएगी अब शाम गम की घड़ी। आग दामन में होगी तुम्हारे लगी, बोली वो फिक्र मुझको नहीं है कोई। मेरा दामन बुझाने तो आओगे ना, रोज चेहरा दिखाने तो आओगे ना। मुज़तरिब दिल से कहने लगे शाहिदी, तेरी किस्मत में बेटी सुकून अब नहीं। अब तमाचे लगाएगा शिमरे लई, सुन के ये बात कहने लगी वो हंसी। शिमर से तुम बचाने तो आओगे ना, रोज चेहरा दिखाने तो आओगे ना। फिर किया शैन बेटी से कुछ यूं सुखन, सब हरम होंगे अब तो असीरे महन। तेरे हाथों में भी फिर बंधेगी रसन, बोली ये बात सुन के वो तृष्णा दहन। तुम गले से लगाने तो आओगे ना, रोज चेहरा दिखाने तो आओगे ना। रोके शब्बीर ने उसके बोसे लिए, बोले रुखसार भी होंगे जख्मी तेरे रोने के शहजादी दिन आ गए। बोली तुम कैसे देखोगे रोते हुए, हाँ मुझे चुप कराने तो आओगे ना, रोज चेहरा दिखाने तो आओगे ना। बढ़ती जाती थी बेचैनी शब्बीर की, हर सितम वो उठाने पर राजी हुई। जिंदा बाबा न होंगे समझ ना सकी, सुन के सब मुश्किलें बस ये कहती रही। घर में रूठी मनाने तो आओगे ना, रोज चेहरा दिखाने तो आओगे ना। लिख के सलमान दिल रो रहा है मेरा, ज़ैन जब शाह वाला ने रोकर कहा, अब तो जिंदान मरकद बनेगा तेरा। बेटी साबिर की थी वो बोली यहाँ, मेरा लाशा उठाने तो आओगे ना, रोज चेहरा दिखाने तो आओगे ना। अच्छा बाबा सुलाने तो आओगे ना, रोज चेहरा दिखाने तो आओगे ना।
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight is Shabe Ashoor. Let's take our hearts towards Karbala, where all the ashab are ready for preparing to sacrifice their life for Abu Abdullah Hussain. May Allah magnify their rewards and our reward for commemorating the azab of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. The program for Shabe Ashoor inshallah will continue after the announcement with the lecture by Alim Sheikh Muhammad Reza Himyari, and after the lecture we will have the Naha inshallah. After Naha we have Ziyarat. Tonight is Shabe Ashoor. We'll break for the Tabarruk and tea after the program tonight. So after the main program, Naha and Ziyarat, we'll have the break for Tabarruk, so you can take the Tabarruk and eat in the parking lot or drink tea, and then you can come back about 20 minutes or so. We do Ziyarat Nahiya. Tonight is, as I mentioned, Shabe Ashoor, so we'll do Ziyarat Nahiya inshallah after the main program. So if you want to attend after having your Tabarruk outside, you can come back again in the hall after about 20 minutes or so. Tomorrow, the day of Ashura, the program will start with the Amal Ashura at 11 a.m. sharp. Please be on time. They are about more than 2 hours of Amal, so you want to finish before Zohar Salat. We'll do the Amal between 11 and Zohar Salat, and then we'll do the Zohar Jamaat Salat inshallah together. After that we'll have the Majlis, and then after the main Majlis we'll have the Urdu Majlis played for about 15-20 minutes for those audience who want to have Masaib in Urdu inshallah. After the main Majlis we'll play that Urdu clip for about 15-20 minutes, and then we'll do the Naha and Matam inshallah tomorrow. That is for tomorrow on day of Ashura. After the Naha and Ziyarat tomorrow, we'll have a Ziyarat Akhir Roza Ashur tomorrow after the main program, and then we'll have the Fakha Shikani like the Tabarruk inshallah. So we'll try to arrange in the backside of the center the seating arrangement for ladies and gents both together with a partition. So if you want to have your Tabarruk here, you can go to the back. Man can go from this side towards my left, they can go to the back side, and ladies while exiting the door they can go towards the right on the back side of the center. We'll have some seating arrangements there, so you can do your Fakha Shikani there inshallah after the main program. That is for tomorrow after the Ashura program. After that we'll gather back again for the Shabe Gham and Shame Gharima program. That will start with the Maghrib time. So we'll have the Maghrib's Jamaat Salat at 8:50 tomorrow. Right after the Jamaat Salat, we'll have the Shabe Ashur Majlis tomorrow. The last program will be on 9th of August. That will be the Ziyarat Tazia Majlis, and I'll provide more information tomorrow inshallah. For donations, we have our treasurer Dr. Muhammad Panju at the back of the main men's hall, and on ladies side you can contact anyone to help donating towards the cause of Imam Hussain and for the Muharram funds. Islamic calendars are available at the cost of $3 one and $5 two. If anyone interested, they are on the front desk. And with that, a couple of last more requests. For the gent side, we are observing the mask. I understand it's difficult with all those grief and gham that we have. On the ladies side, I have heard some complaints that they are not following the mask protocol. Please do follow that. That is for the interest of all. Everyone on the men's side, I do see mashallah they are following. So I'll request on the ladies side, please follow the mask protocol. It's just about a couple of days more inshallah, and you will get the reward. I think it will be a magnified reward for commemorating the azab with all those restrictions. And I think if you go back in the history, we have more restriction and people are still doing those azab, if you remember. So inshallah these are small things that if you can take care of that, you'll get your reward inshallah will be magnified for commemorating this azab. One request for personal items. Someone has lost his AirPods. That's the wireless earbuds for the iPhone. I think someone has taken by mistake. So the real owner has shown up. If someone has taken by mistake, please return those. The real owner is actually waiting for those. So if you can please return those, it's amanat for the person who actually it belongs to. So I request anyone who have taken by mistake, please return those AirPods. One last request, if you can please come towards the member. This way we have more space for people coming at the back, and we don't have the breaking of the lecture in continuation by the Sheikh. And now with your loud request, Salawat, I'll request our Sheikh to start his lecture for the Shabe Ashoor. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad Salawat.
الفاتحة. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وبه نستعين إنه خير ناصر ومعين. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، سيما بقية الله في الأراضين وحجته على الخلق أجمعين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى يوم الدين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، فقد قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. الله نور السماوات والأرض. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. These past few nights we have been discussing this ayat of Surah An-Nur, and we have been talking about harnessing that light of Allah, harnessing it through working on ourselves and on our souls. identifying those values that we must live our life by, and seeking to live our life according to those values. And we said that those values are of taqwa, of a consciousness and an awareness of Allah, of a fear, a deep and profound fear of going against that which Allah loves, of working on our soul so that we can create and transform ourselves into virtuous and pious human beings. We mentioned that there are those who are pious and there are those who are impious. And we said that true piety is not simply caring about your own soul and your own life, but also caring about your community and your society, shining that light of guidance from the Ahlul Bayt throughout your society, and how we can create a better society for ourselves, for our loved ones, and connect ourselves to our families and to our cultures. Now, we said that then our lesson from the Ahlul Bayt is a means for us to get to this end, for us to recreate ourselves in terms of the muttaqeen. But sometimes we have within the Islamic teachings and within the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt that there are things in this world that have a good in and of themselves that you do because they are good, not because you want to get to something else. Sometimes we believe in something or we do something because we want to reach some other thing, some other good. We go to work because we want to get money so that we can help our family and live a good life. We go to school because we want to learn something so that we can get a better job, so that we can help our family and live a better life. This is a means to an end. But we know from the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt that there are things in this world that must be valued because they are valuable in themselves, not because we want to get to something else. Those famous words of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali alayhi salam, where the Imam says, there are various people who do ibadah of Allah, the worship of Allah. Some worship Allah because they want to get to Allah's Jannah, to His paradise. Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali says, this is the ibadah of the tujjar, those businessmen and women, who want to do something to gain some good. There are those who worship Allah in fear of His punishment. They want to refrain from being punished in the hereafter. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, those who worship Allah for this reason, to get to this other good, refraining from Allah's punishments, this is the ibadatul abid, ibadah of those who are slaves. They want to run away from the wrath of their master, that punishment. The highest level of ibadah, Amir al-Mu'mineen tells us though, is not running away from the punishment of Allah, nor getting to that good that Allah has promised us, but it is because of shukr. Because Allah is worthy of our worship. He is a being who is worthy of our worship. And His worship is good in and of itself. It's not a means to another end. The worship of Allah is the ultimate good that any human being can do. And so there are things in this world that according to the Ahlul Bayt are good in and of themselves, not because we want to get to something else. And one of those is the ibadah of Allah. We come and gather in these majalis to recite and recount and open our hearts to Imam Hussain, and to the teachings of Imam Hussain. We said that Imam Hussain is one of those who harness the light of Allah. في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيه اسمه. That's lights that Allah shines throughout His creation. And if we want to benefit from that light, we must go to Imam Hussain. We want to benefit and gain something. That's taqwa. That's true taqwa. True piety of Allah. Consciousness of Allah. We want to get to that. We go through the door of Imam Hussain. But we have a hadith from Rasulullah Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, which can be interpreted in a different way. We don't simply accept Imam Hussain because we want to get to another good. We accept Imam Hussain because he is good manifest. He is that goodness that we must praise and we must become like, and we must sacrifice for, because good is an end. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi has said, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Husaynun minni wa ana min Hussain. Ahabba Allahu man ahabba Husayna. This is a very common hadith. It's a hadith that's not simply reported by the school of the Ahlul Bayt. It can be found in many of the other books of the other schools of Islam. It's one of the most authentic ahadith that is found in various books. And so we don't need to speak about the authenticity of this hadith. In the various sihah, those highest levels of books of ultimate authenticity amongst other schools of Islam, this hadith can be found. Husaynun minni wa ana min Hussain. Ahabba Allahu man ahabba Husayna. Hussain is from me, and I am from Hussain. Allah loves whoever loves Hussain. Allah loves whoever loves Hussain. Let's try to understand, what does the Prophet of Islam mean when he says Hussain is from me and I am from Hussain? Sometimes this is understood as Hussain is my grandson. He is of my lineage. And maybe the Prophet, according to one interpretation, the Prophet meant that I love Hussain, and so if you want to love me, then you have to love Hussain, because he is my grandson, he is from me, in the sense that he is of my lineage. But then, what does the Rasulullah mean when he says, Wa ana min Hussain, and I am of Hussain? Rasulullah doesn't simply tell us his relations. Rasulullah doesn't simply tell us that he loves someone because he is part of his family. We have family members of the Prophet of Islam who became the utmost enemies of the Prophet. Abu Lahab was the uncle of the Prophet. And if simply connection, family connection to the Prophet makes you someone that Allah loves you because you love them, then what about Abu Lahab? What about those other family members of the Prophet who became the utmost enemies of the Prophet of Islam? Simply being connected to the Prophet of Islam through family does not make anyone special. So special that the Prophet says, this person is from me and I am from them. So what does Rasulullah mean? Rasulullah connects Hussain to himself. To understand this, we have to understand, how does Rasulullah speak? In the end of the day, Rasulullah speaks as a representative of Allah. And when he speaks about Allah, he is speaking through wahy, through this special knowledge that Allah has given him, this connection that Allah has established through him. We want to understand how Rasulullah speaks and what he means. We have to look at the Quran. What is the ta'wil, the interpretation of these words? When we look in the Quran, we see that Allah tells us certain realities, not just metaphors. The difference between a symbol and a metaphor is that a metaphor is simply about language. I describe a person's face as though it is, for example, very brilliant like the sun. It is luminous, and what I mean is that this person has a very bright face. Maybe they smile a lot, maybe they laugh a lot. When I say this person, his face is like the sun. That's a metaphor. I don't really mean that this person, his face is exactly like the sun. I'm saying this person has a bright face, has a happy and smiling face. Does Allah speak to us in this way? We have to understand what Allah means when He says in the Quran about ta'wil, interpretation. We want to understand the meaning and the intention of Allah and the intention of Rasulullah. We have to understand what ta'wil means. We look in the Quran. We see in Surah Yusuf, Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, he talks about in the Surah Yusuf, there is a certain dream that Nabi Yusuf recounts for his father. قال يا أبتي إني رأيت أحد عشر كوكبا والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين. He sees a dream. Nabi Yusuf sees a dream. And he says to his father, Ya Abati, I have seen 11 stars, 11 planets, 11 of these celestial objects, and I have seen the sun and the moon, and I have seen them prostrating towards me. And then his father says, don't tell this dream of yours to any of your brothers. Keep this dream with yourself. At the end of Surah Yusuf, Nabi Yusuf, when he sees that his brothers, his 11 brothers, had come to the land of Egypt, and he sees that his father and mother as well come to that land, and when Nabi Yusuf forgives his brothers, they fall to the ground, and they are prostrating to Nabi Yusuf out of thanks. And then Nabi Yusuf says, قَالَ يَا أَبَتِي هَذَا تَأْوِيلُ رُؤْيَتِي. This is that understanding and that interpretation of my dream. This is the reality that Allah had revealed to me. It's the reality of my dream. This is that ta'wil. Our Mufassirun tell us that throughout the Quran, when Allah gives us examples, I mentioned that this Surah An-Nur, Allah draws a picture for us, a very beautiful portrait. Allahu nuru samawati wal ard, mathalu nurihi kamishkatin, fiha misbahun, al-misbahu fi zujajatin, until the end of the ayah. Fi buyutin, adina Allahu an turfa'a wa yudhkara fihi isma. Allah is drawing for us a picture, a portrait. He says that the light of Allah is like the light of the heavens and the earth. And the example of his light is like a niche. Within that niche is a lamp. And that lamp is covered by glass. And the light from which shines from the light that shines from that lamp or that lantern is so brilliant that even if fire does not touch that oil, it is almost as though it glistens on its own. It's a beautiful picture. But is Allah simply giving us a picture? Simply drawing for us or telling us a nice story? Giving us a metaphor? Or is Allah telling us about a reality of His creation and His existence, the existence that He has created for the world? We have this common idea, this common refrain in the tafasir of the Ahlul Bayt. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. To give us an idea about how to understand this, the Mufassirun tell us that Allah gives us certain examples of the material world. Because we are so connected to the material world. The material world touches us in such a deep level, but He gives these examples of the material world because we are so detached from the spiritual world. If you want to explain to a young child how sweet, for example, kindness is, how good it is, you might give them the example of some candy. You say, if you do this good thing will bring you the same reward as this piece of candy. You give them an example because all they know, the highest level of reward they know and they understand is this small piece of candy. And so you train them to say that, do your salat and I will give you this piece of candy. Because they don't understand anything more than that. If you tell them, if you do this wrong thing, I'm going to, for example, ground you. Because they don't understand how bad it is for them to make, for example, their siblings angry or to fight with their siblings. They don't understand how evil that is or how bad that is. And so you say, if you fight with your siblings, I'm going to ground you. Or I'm going to do this and this and this thing to you. Because we don't understand those higher spiritual realities, Allah gives us symbols that speak to ourselves and our souls. Allah says, Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. We know what light is. We see light. But does Allah mean that He is that light that shines forth in the heavens and the world and the earth? He's telling us a symbol. He's saying that there is a reality in this world that through which I have created the heavens and the earth. And I am giving you a symbol, an example, something that speaks to your soul and that you can see. Because you don't understand that higher spiritual reality. When we look in the ahadith of the Ahlul Bayt, we see that time and time again, the Ahlul Bayt tell us, for example, that Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib is that Siratul Mustaqim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. You want to know what a Sirat is on the Day of Judgment? It is this Ali. The Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path, is Ali. What does it mean? A person comes and asks our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam. Mufaddal ibn Umar, according to one report, this companion of the fifth Imam comes and asks the Imam, what does it mean when the Prophet of Islam says, Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib is Qasimun Nari wal Jannah. He is the one who divides those who go to heaven and those who go to hell. What does that mean? There's a long hadith in which Imam Muhammad al-Baqir explains what ta'wil according to the Ahlul Bayt is, what those higher spiritual realities are referring to. And so Imam Muhammad al-Baqir says, لأن حُبَّهُ إِيمَانٌ وَبُغْضُهُ كُفْرٌ. Because the love of Amirul Mu'mineen, of Imam Ali, is Iman, is belief. وَبُغْضُهُ كُفْرٌ. And hating Amirul Mu'mineen is kufr itself. If you want to know what Qasimun Nar wal Jannah is, you simply have to look at who loves Amirul Mu'mineen, because that person will have Iman. And who hates Amirul Mu'mineen, because that person will have kufr. And then the Imam says, وَإِنَّمَا خُلِقَتْ الْجَنَّةُ لِأَهْلِ الْإِيمَانِ وَخُلِقَتْ النَّارُ لِأَهْلِ الْكُفْرِ. Because Jannah, paradise, was created for those who have Iman. And Nar, hellfire, was created for those who have kufr. And then the person asks, this companion of the fifth Imam asks, he says, how is it that when we look in the ahadith, we see that even the prophets before the prophets of Islam, before Amirul Mu'mineen came to this world, we say that whichever one of the prophets was truly a prophet, and any one of their companions loved Amirul Mu'mineen, Imam Ali. And whoever opposed the prophets hated Amirul Mu'mineen. The Imam says it's because of this same principle, that Amirul Mu'mineen, Imam Ali, is the embodiment of Iman. And so if you love Iman, if you love Amirul Mu'mineen, then you have Iman. And if you hate Amirul Mu'mineen, Imam Ali, then you have kufr. This isn't just something specific to the school of the Ahlul Bayt. In the other schools of Islam, I mentioned this hadith of Rasulullah. أحب الله من أحب Hussain. Whoever loves Hussain, Allah loves him. So it's not just specific to the school of Ahlul Bayt. Whoever loves Amirul Mu'mineen, Allah loves him. And whoever hates Amirul Mu'mineen, Allah hates him. All of the previous prophets and their companions had to have loved Amirul Mu'mineen. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had Iman. And whoever opposed those prophets was opposing that spiritual reality which Amirul Mu'mineen is manifesting in himself. And so they hate Amirul Mu'mineen, those enemies of the prophets, those who oppose the prophet and the previous prophets. So when we think about Iman and Kufr, we don't think about it in terms of a specific time and a specific place. We don't think about Iman and Kufr in terms of what came after Rasulullah. Iman and Kufr is a spiritual reality which transcends time and space. It is embodied in certain people. And the highest manifestation of that embodiment is Rasulullah. And is Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, alayhi salam, salawat. So this person, this companion of Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, asks for a little bit more information. He says, the Imam responds, haven't you heard the report on the day of Khaybar in which Rasulullah said, لَأَعْطِيَنَّ الرَّايَةَ غَدًا رَجُلًا يُحِبُّ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ يُحِبُّ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ وَيُحِبُّهُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. On the day of Khaybar, Rasulullah said that this flag in my hand, this standard, will not be given to anyone except for a person who loves Allah and His Rasul, and who in turn Allah loves him as well as His Rasul loves him. And that person was Amirul Mu'mineen. Imam Muhammad al-Baqir is recounting one after another the fada'il of Amirul Mu'mineen. These moments in which Rasulullah himself said, Allah loves Amirul Mu'mineen and Amirul Mu'mineen loves Allah. He gives another example. Allah gave the Prophet a bird. The bird was given to the Prophet to eat, a cooked, fried bird. And Rasulullah says in this famous report, Allahumma i'tani bi'ahabbi khalqika ilayk wa ilay ya'kulu ma'i min hadha ta'ir. In these famous fada'il of Amirul Mu'mineen, which have been reported in various books, in this incident, in this episode, the Prophet asks Allah to bring someone to share with him in this blessing who is the most beloved person to you, O Allah, and to me, so that he may share this bird with me, this food that you have given me, he can share that with me. These are the fada'il of Amirul Mu'mineen. Time and time again, Rasulullah says, whoever I love and Allah loves, and whoever loves me and Allah. This is that reality that Imam Muhammad al-Baqir is saying, this is how Allah speaks. Allah does not speak simply to a certain time or a place. Iman and kufr is represented by certain people in Allah's creation. And there's a spiritual reality that Allah is trying to open our eyes to. Now, let's go back to that hadith of Rasulullah. You have, again, I will say this again because the words of Rasulullah are good to say because they are the words of Rasulullah. They're good in themselves. قال رسول الله محمد المصطفى صلى الله عليه وآله حسين مني وأنا من حسين أحب الله من أحب حسينا. We have this hadith of Imam Muhammad al-Baqir in which he tells us that Allah speaks about spiritual realities and we should not be confining Allah's words to a certain time or a place, and even to certain people, because there may be people who will come at the end of time after Nabi Musa, after Nabi Isa, who represent and who manifest that good that Allah wanted people to see. And so he says, فَهَلْ يَجُوزُ أَنْ لَا يُحِبَّ أَنْبِيَاءَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولَهُ وَأَوْصِيَائِهِمْ رَجُلًا يُحِبُّهُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ وَيُحِبُّ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. Is it permissible for the prophets and their awsiya, their inheritors, to come many years ago, many generations ago, and for them to not love who Allah loves, Allah who transcends time and space? Is it possible for these people, these awliya Allah, these closest people to Allah, to not love those who Allah Himself loves? فَلَا يَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةِ إِلَّا مَنْ أَحَبَّهُ مِنَ الْأَوَّلِينَ وَالْآخِرِينَ وَلَا يَدْخُلُ النَّارِ إِلَّا مَنْ أَبْغَضَهُ. And so no one from the people of the farthest time in the beginning of human creation until the end of time, again, beyond time and space, no one can enter Jannah except that they must love Amirul Mu'mineen. And no one will enter the hellfire except that they hate Amirul Mu'mineen. This is that reality that Allah speaks to. And it's the same reality that Rasulullah speaks to. Husaynun minni wa ana min Hussain. I am from Hussain and Hussain is from me. What does it mean for Hussain to be from the Prophet of Islam? What is this minni? The Prophet is not talking about his physical body. of course, Imam Hussain is not part of the Prophet's body. And we said that the Prophet doesn't simply speak based on his family connections. Rasulullah loved Imam Hussain not simply because he was his grandson. Wa ana min Hussain, and I am from Hussain. So what is this ana that Rasulullah is saying? We have in the ahadith of the Ahlul Bayt that Ahlul Bayt tell us the Prophet of Islam and the Ahlul Bayt are that nur, that light that Allah shines throughout the world. In a famous hadith of Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The Imam is asked about this verse of Surah At-Taghabun. This verse goes, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فآمنوا بالله ورسوله والنور الذي أنزلنا. Believe in Allah, believe in His Prophet, and believe in that light that we have revealed. According to the Imam, he says, النور الذي أنزل هو الأئمة. That is the A'immah, starting from Amirul Mu'mineen until the final Imam. That's Nur, that Allah uses to create the heavens and the earth. Is that same reality of the Ahlul Bayt. It's that same spiritual reality. Allah uses a Nur to create His creation, to expand the existence that He has created. It's that spiritual reality. And so we have in another ziyarah of Imam Hussain, we bear witness to Imam Hussain. We say, Ashhadu annaka an-nuru alladhi lam yutfa wa la yutfa'u abada. You are that spiritual reality. You are that nur that Allah created the world through. That spiritual reality that Allah created the nur based upon and for. And you are a light which will never be extinguished. It was never extinguished when those who came and massacred you and massacred your camp and your companions, they did not extinguish your light, and your light will never be extinguished so long as the heavens and the earth exist. When we think about the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, we don't think about them simply in terms of certain values and certain virtues that we want to live our lives based on. We don't simply think about them in terms of the society that we want to create. We think about them in terms of that spiritual reality that we want to open our eyes to. That is what the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt tell us. And so when we say that we sacrifice our lives and our souls for Imam Hussain, we are like that. We should make ourselves like that moth. You see a moth that surrounds a candle, and he dances around this candle. And the closer and closer he becomes, he is attracted to the light, because that light is good in and of itself. It attracts him. We love the Imam because the Imam is that light that we are attracted to. Love is not something that you do because you want to get to something else. A mother, when she loves her child, she doesn't love her child because this child may one day grow up and may take care of her. She loves this child. A father loves his child because they love that child, because that child is worthy of their love. It's a natural attraction. They can't do anything but love their child. Ahabba Allahu man ahabba Husayna. What does love mean? We have to make ourselves like that moth that is attracted to the candle. and is willing to sacrifice himself and give himself to the candle, extinguish himself in the light of that candle. That is what true love means. And if we do this, then we will not only love Allah, we will connect ourselves back to Allah, but then Allah promises that He will love us as well. He will be devoted to us as well. أحب الله من أحب حسينا. So we see on the day of Ashura, the companions of the Imam, they showed what true love is. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya ibn Rasulullah. Sallallahu alayka ya ibn Amir al-Mu'mineen. وابن سيدة نساء العالمين يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز معكم فوزا عظيما. Let us turn our hearts towards Karbala. It is the night before the day of Ashura. It is said that on this night, the companions of Imam Hussain and Imam Hussain had asked the enemy soldiers on the day of Tasu'ah, they had asked the enemy soldiers for one more night so they could worship Allah. They could remember Allah. They could pray to Him and recount His words and reflect on the Quran. It is said that the camp of Imam Hussain, the enemy soldiers themselves bear witness in various reports that they heard the camp of Imam Hussain buzzing and humming like a beehive. These companions of Imam Hussain were worshipping Allah throughout the night. And it is said that at one point on that night before the day of Ashura, Imam Hussain gathers his companions and his Ahlul Bayt. It is said that Imam Hussain, he tells his companions that I have lifted my allegiance from you. I have lifted that pledge that you have pledged to me. I have lifted all of those responsibilities that you have towards me. Go out and be free. Go out and save yourselves. And take the hand of another companion and save that companion as well. And it is said that the companions of Imam Hussain, one after another, they said that, "Oh Imam, if there is even a drop of blood in my body left, I will shed that drop of blood for you, O Imam. I will sacrifice myself for you." It is said that Zuhair ibn Qayn said to the Imam, "O Imam, if I was resurrected, I was killed, and then Allah resurrected my body, brought me back to this world. And I was killed again for you, and I was resurrected once again. 10 times I was resurrected to sacrifice my life for you. O Imam, I would do that willingly." One after another, the companions pledged their allegiance once again to the Imam. And so one after another, the Imam recounted for his companions how they would meet their end, how they would sacrifice their lives. Until finally, it is said that Qasim, this young boy, in the corner of the room, the corner of the tent, he stands up and he says, "O my Imam, O my uncle, O Aba Abdullah, will I as well give myself for you?" Those famous words of Imam Hussain says, how do you see death in your eyes, O Qasim? How is death to you? Qasim says, Ahla min al-asal. That my death is on your path. If I sacrifice myself for you, O Imam, O my uncle, it is sweeter than honey. And so it is here that Imam Hussain recounted for Qasim how he will perish. But the Imam did not stop there. The Imam says, O Qasim, you as well will give your life. But even Abdullah, Aliyun al-Asghar will perish tomorrow. Even he will be killed. Maybe this thought came to Qasim's mind. If Aliyun al-Asghar will also be killed, then my Imam Hussain will be left all alone. The tent will be opened to the enemy soldiers, such that even the innocent children and infants of the camp of the Imam will be killed. They will not have anybody to defend them. And the Imam tells him, O Qasim, yes, that moment will come in which all of my companions will be killed. And so on the morrow, the Imam, he one after another sends out his companions, and they are killed. One after another, the Banu Hashim as well give their lives for the Imam, until finally the Imam is all alone. And he calls out into the desert plains. He calls out the Imam all alone. He calls out, Hal min nasirin yansuruna, Hal min dabbin yadabban harami Rasulullah. He is calling out to each and every one of us through time and space. He is calling out, is there anyone who will come and protect us? Is there anyone who will come and defend the haram of Rasulullah? The Imam is calling us towards him. And it is said the Imam at this point turns back towards the tent. He is giving his final farewell. It is said that's the Imam. He goes to the tent. He gives his final farewell. And he calls to his sister, Ya Zainab, Nawilini waladi as-saghir. Oh Zainab, I want to give my final farewell to the women, to the children, and even to my infant son. And so, Ya Zainab, give me my infant son Abdullah Ali Asghar. Give me my infant son so I can give my final farewell. For I know that when I turn around, I will never see you again. And so the Imam takes his infant son in his arms. And according to some reports, he turns around towards the enemy soldiers. The Imam is that Hujjatullah ala al-ard. He is that Hujjah of Allah who is going to open the eyes of the Muslims. Time and time again, the Imam called to the Muslims, to the enemies who were out for his blood. He tried to open the mercy and the compassion of Allah towards these enemy soldiers. Tried to show them the depths of evil that they had reached. And so he goes towards the enemy soldiers with this infant son of his. A'adham Allahu ujurana wa ujurakum. Imam goes towards the enemy soldiers. He goes towards the battlefield, and the enemy soldiers see that there is something the Imam is covering with his abba. They think that the Imam is bringing a Quran. They say, oh, look at Hussain. Maybe he wants to give up. Maybe he wants to surrender. Until finally the Imam pulls aside his abba and he shows his infant son to the enemy soldiers. He says that if you don't want to show me any mercy, at least show some mercy to this infant. If I have done some wrong to you, what has this infant done? If you hate me, then take this son of mine and give him a drop of water to drink. It is said that when Lady Zainab gave Ali al-Asghar to Imam Hussein, she said that Ali al-Asghar throughout the day had not even cried because his body had become so weak and so pale that he couldn't muster the energy to cry. And it is said that Ali al-Asghar was simply opening his lips and closing them. His mouth was so parched that there was not even a drop of water left. And so the Imam holds Ali al-Asghar in his arms. The enemy soldiers, there's a commotion amongst them. Some of them are saying, why not give water to this young child? What is wrong with us? The enemy soldiers were arguing amongst themselves. Shamr sees this and he tells Harmala al-Kahili, he says, Harmala, will you not answer Hussein? If you don't answer Hussein, our army will disband. And Harmala pulls the arrow from and he places it in his bow and he launches the arrow towards Ali al-Asghar. Imagine the neck of Ali al-Asghar. It's the neck of an infant child. And this arrow lodges itself in the neck of Ali al-Asghar. It is said that it didn't simply lodge itself in the neck of Ali Asghar. He was sacrificed in the arms of Imam Hussein. His head was cut off in the arms of his father. And the Imam, he takes this blood of Ali Asghar and he casts it towards the heavens. Imam Hussein, he takes this blood and he casts it towards the heavens and he says, Oh Allah, I sacrifice this blood towards you. And a call comes from the heavens, Da'hu ya Hussein, فَإِنَّ فِي الْجَنَّةِ لَهُ مُرْضِعٌ. Oh Hussein, leave him where he is, for there is a nursing mother for him in the Jannah. We will give him water to drink. We will give him milk to quench his thirst. And so Imam Hussein, he doesn't let himself, he can't face his mother. And he digs a shallow grave for Ali al-Asghar. And he places his body in that grave. And he covers the grave. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. ماتم حسين.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. आते हैं असगर अली खूह में नहाए हुए की हिंचकी लगी, खूह में नहाए हुए, मुठिया दोनों बंधे, सीने के ऊपर धरी, आंखें खुली कुछ रखी, खून में नहाए हुए, मारते दस्त पा, ढूंढते हैं सर नन्हा सा, जाते हैं पेशे खुदा, खून में नहाए हुए, मन का डला है हुआ, दम भी है उखड़ा हुआ, सीने में उलझा हुआ, खूह में नहाए हुए, आंखें कभी खोल के शह की तरफ यास से, रोके हो क्या देखते, खूह में नहाए हुए, गुल हुआ ए बीबियों, आते हैं असगर अली, आखिरी तस्लीम को खूह में नहाए हुए, जाके जिंदा पिसर बानू चली लेने को, रह गई बस देख कर खूह में नहाए हुसैन, या हुसैन, हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, हुसैन। ढल गया सूरज शम्मा जली, नन्ना मेरा असगर कहाँ गया रे, ढल गया सूरज शम्मा जली, नन्ना मेरा असगर कहाँ गया रे, पानो पुकारी कोक जली, नन्ना मेरा असगर कहाँ गया रे, ढल गया सूरज शम्मा जली, नन्ना मेरा असगर कहाँ गया रे। रात अंधेरी सुनसान बन, ढूंढूं कहाँ तुझे ए गुलबदन। रात अंधेरी सुनसान बन, ढूंढूं कहाँ तुझे ए गुलबदन। रो रो पुकारी माँ दिल जली, नन्ना मेरा असगर कहाँ गया रे। जवाब जवाब जवाब। सूरज शम्मा जली, कहाँ गया रे। ढल गया सूरज शम्मा जली, नन्ना मेरा असगर। वक्त मदद है मुश्किल कुशा, मुश्किल करो हल बेरे खुदा। वक्त मदद है मुश्किल कुशा, मुश्किल करो हल बेरे खुदा। तुम ही बताओ मौला अली, नन्ना मेरा असगर कहाँ गया रे। ढल गया सूरज शम्मा जली, नन्ना मेरा असगर कहाँ गया रे। जंगल में किस जादू खो गया, झूला है खाली ये महल का। जंगल में किस जादू खो गया, झूला है खाली में महल का। किसको झुलाए अम्मा तेरी, नन्ना मेरा असगर कहाँ गया रे। ढल गया सूरज शम्मा जली, नन्ना मेरा असगर कहाँ गया रे। या हुसैन 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 हुसैन या हुसैन
या हुसैन हुसैन या 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 हुसैन। जाली असगर जा, जाली असगर जा, जाली असगर जा, जाली असगर जा, हाय जाली असगर जा, हाय जाली असगर जा। आशूर के दिन अली असगर को मारो रो कर समझाती है, तुझे आखिरी जंग लड़ना है। आशूर के दिन अली असगर को मारो रो कर समझाती है, तुझे आखिरी जंग लड़ना है। तुझे लाज मेरी रखना है, तुझे बाबा संग जाना है। तुझे लाज मेरी रखना है, तुझे बाबा संग जाना है, तुझे आखिरी जंग लड़ना है। इस दिन के लिए ही माँ तेरी तुझे करबला में लाई थी। इस दिन के लिए ही माँ तेरी तुझे करबला में लाई थी। इस दिन के लिए ही बेटा तुझे नाज से माँ ने पाला, तुझे आखिरी जंग लड़ना है। जाली असगर जा, जाली असगर जा, हाय जाली असगर जा। आशूर के दिन अली असगर को मारो रो कर समझाती है, तुझे आखिरी जंग लड़ना है। तू माँ का राज दुलारा है, तू सबकी आंख कतारा है। तू माँ का राज दुलारा है, तू सबकी आंख कतारा है।
तू शेर खुदा का पोता, तेरा नाम अली है बेटा, तुझे आखिरी जंग
लड़ना है।
आशूर के दिन अली असगर को मारो रो कर समझाती है, तुझे आखिरी जंग लड़ना
है।
तुझे लाज मेरी रखना है, तुझे बाबा संग जाना है, तुझे आखिरी जंग
लड़ना है।
लाल तेरे कपड़े बदलूं, मकतल के लिए तैयार करूं।
लाल तेरे कपड़े बदलूं, मकतल के लिए तैयार करूं।
चेहरा चूमूं तेरा, जी भर के देख लूं बेटा, तुझे आखिरी
जंग लड़ना है।
जाली असगर जा, जाली असगर जा, हाय जाली असगर
जा।
आशूर के दिन अली असगर को मारो रो कर समझाती है, तुझे आखिरी
जंग लड़ना है।
कभी गोद में ज़ैनब लेती है, कभी प्यार सकीना करती है।
कभी गोद में माँ,
कभी गोद में ज़ैनब लेती है, कभी प्यार सकीना करती है। खैमों में शोर है बरपा, तू सबकी दुआ लेता जा, तुझे आखिरी जंग लड़ना है। आशूर के दिन अली असगर को मारो रो कर समझाती है, तुझे आखिरी
जंग लड़ना है।
तुझे लाज मेरी रखना है, तुझे बाबा संग जाना है, तुझे
आखिरी जंग लड़ना है।
मैदान में अली बन कर जाना, बाबा की नुसरत फरमाना। मैदान में अली
बन कर जाना,
बाबा की नुसरत
फरमाना।
शबीर का तू है बेटा, अब्बास चचा है तेरा, तुझे आखिरी जंग लड़ना है। जाली असगर जा, जाली असगर जा, हाय जाली असगर
जा।
आशूर के दिन अली असगर को मारो रो कर समझाती है, तुझे आखिरी
जंग लड़ना है।
हर माँ ने दी कुर्बानी है, तुझे मेरी लाज निभानी है।
हर माँ ने दी कुर्बानी है,
तुझे मेरी लाज
निभानी है।
जब जालिम तीर चलाए, बाबा को न लगने पाए, तुझे आखिरी जंग लड़ना है। आशूर के दिन अली असगर को मारो रो कर समझाती है, तुझे आखिरी जंग लड़ना है। तुझे लाज मेरी रखना है, तुझे बाबा संग जाना है, तुझे आखिरी जंग लड़ना है। है जाली असगर जा, तुझे आखिरी जंग लड़ना है। है जाली असगर जा, है जाली असगर जा। या हुसैन,
Hussain, Ya 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 Hussain, Hussain,
या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन। एक मिनट। बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं, बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं, अपने बंधे हाथों को बीमार के जेवर को भूली नहीं मैं, बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं, बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं। उठती हुई आंधी को, वहशत को, बयाबां को, छुपते हुए सूरज को, तारीकी को, मैदान को, चलते हुए खंजर को, नेज़े पे तेरे सर को भूली नहीं मैं, बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं, बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं। लहराते हुए नेज़ा है शिमर का वो बढ़ना, लहराते हुए नेज़ा शिमर का वो बढ़ना, लहराते हुए नेज़ा है शिमर का वो बढ़ना, आके मेरे पीछे हर बीबी का वो छुपना, शोलों में घिरे घर को छिनती हुई चादर को भूली नहीं मैं, बाजार के मंजर को और अपने सर को भूली नहीं मैं, बाजार के मंजर को और अपने सर को भूली नहीं मैं। जिस रात में तन्हा थी उस रात के ढलने को, टूटे हुए नेज़े को उस रात के पहरे को, बच्चों के सिसकने को और राख के बिस्तर को भूली नहीं मैं, बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं, बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं। याद आता है एक माँ का वो खाक में धस जाना, और आग के शोलों में वो माँ का झुलस जाना, जलते हुए झूले से लिपटी हुई मादर को भूली नहीं मैं, बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं, बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं। फिजा को मेरा भाई माँ कह के बुलाता था, दम उसका मेरे भाई के नाम पे जाता था, रुतबे में जो माँ बन कर आई उसी मादर को भूली नहीं मैं, बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं, बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं। एक चांद था बदली में छुपता था निकलता था, पर्दा दर खैमे का उठता कभी गिरता था, वो खैमाए लैला से है रुख सदे अकबर को।
भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को। भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को। भूली नहीं मैं।
उस रात में तन्हा थी उस रात के ढलने को, टूटे हुए नेज़े को उस रात के पहरे को, बच्चों के सिसकने को और राख के बिस्तर को।
भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को। भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को। भूली नहीं मैं।
आती है नवीद भी आवाज़ ये ज़ैनब की, है मुझको कसम सदियों से सूखे हुए लब की। प्यासे अली असगर को सूखे हुए सागर को।
भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और सर को। भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को। भूली नहीं मैं।
मासूम सकीना को बढ़ते हुए नेज़ों को, रिश्ते हुए कानों को बेरहम तमाचों को, रिश्ते हुए कानों को खिंचते हुए गौहर को।
भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को। भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को। भूली नहीं मैं। या हुसैन 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 या हुसैन।
अम्मा फिजा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों आ रहे हैं। अम्मा फिजा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों आ रहे हैं। कैसा है ये चरागा दिल डूबे जा रहे हैं। क्या शाम आ गया है। अम्मा फिजा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों आ रहे हैं। होने लगी अज़ाने कैसे सरों को ढांपे। बाजू बंधे हुए हैं खून रो रही है आंखें। आंखों के खून से रास्ते खून में नहा रहे हैं। क्या शाम आ गया है। अम्मा फिजा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों आ रहे हैं। अम्मा फिजा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों आ रहे हैं। नेज़ों पे जितने सर हैं एक सर है उनमें ऐसा। आंखें हैं बंद उसकी और खाक पर है गिरता। अब्बास का ये सर है तेवर बता रहे हैं। क्या शाम आ गया है। अम्मा फिजा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों आ रहे हैं। इतना चले हैं पैदल कांटों पे सार कैदी, थक जाती चलते चलते, चलती अगर ज़मीं भी, पैरों के आबले भी आंसू बहा रहे हैं। क्या शाम आ गया है। अम्मा फिजा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों आ रहे हैं। है लोग किस तरह के हमसे दुआ कराए। ऐ कैदियों दुआ दो ये दिन ना हम पे आए। लेकर दुआएं हमसे दिल भी दुखा रहे हैं। क्या शाम आ गया है। अम्मा फिजा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों आ रहे हैं। या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन। मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलवात अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला।
वतवज्जुह ज़ियारत। अस्सलामु अलैका या अबा अब्दिल्लाह व अलल अरवाह अल्लती हल्लत बिफिनाइक। अलैका मिन्नी सलामुल्लाहि अबदन मा बक़ीतु व बक़ियल लैलु वन नहार वला जअलहु अल्लाहु आखिरल अहदि मिन्नी लिज़ियारतिकुम। अस्सलामु अलल हुसैन व अला अली इब्निल हुसैन व अला औलादिल हुसैन व अला अस्हाबिल हुसैन। अस्सलामु अलैका या गरीबल गुरबा। अस्सलामु अलैका या मुईन अद्दुअफ़ा'i वल फ़ुक़रा। अबल हसन अली इब्न मूसा अय्युहर रिदा। कुन शफ़ीअना व शफ़ीअ वालिदैन फ़ी यौमिल जज़ा। सलवातुल्लाहि अलैका व अला आबाइका सबअ व अबनाइकल अर्बअ व उख्तिका फ़ातिमतल मासूमा जमीअन व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहु। अस्सलामु अलैका या साहिबल अस्रि वज़्ज़मान। अल अमान अल अमान अल अमान मिन फ़ितनतिज़ ज़मानि वश्शैतान। अस्सलामु अलैका या शरीकल क़ुरआन। अस्सलामु अलैका या इमामल इंसि वल जान। अज्जलल्लाहु तआला फ़रजक व सहहलल्लाहु तआला मख़रजक व ज़ुहूरक व जअलना मिन अंसारिक व अअवानिक। अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहु। अल्लाह